Alright, the next one is a new collection. What? Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with some holiday book recommendations. So I was trying to think of what kind of fun Christmas videos I'd want to do for the week of Christmas that we are in here. And I wasn't sure, but I thought a recommendations video might be kind of fun. I don't think I've done one of those for Christmas books specifically, or if I have, it's been a long time. So I thought this might be a fun little experiment, and I decided to do a twist on it, which is to pick a bunch of mugs, like Christmas mugs. I have a huge collection of Christmas mugs, and I just picked a few, and based on what the mug looks like, I wanted to recommend a book based on that mug for one reason or another. So this might be a really silly video, and I don't know, it might be totally ridiculous, but I thought we'd give it a try. So as always, I'll leave all the books linked down below if you'd like to check them out a little bit more, but I picked some of the ones that I personally really like. The very first mug that we're going to talk about today is the one that I feel like I used the most this year, and that is this green one. It says Merry Christmas to All, and it's got a gold Santa. It's green and like pottery, kind of. I really like these pottery kind of mugs. So I grabbed this one, and the book that I'm going to recommend based on this mug is Christmas in Paris, and this is by Anita Hughes. This was probably the very first like novel Christmas book that I ever read a few years ago, and it's just, first off, look how cute those are together. Don't they just like vibe? But this gives me very like classic Christmas with like a little twist of magic in it, and that's exactly what this book is. So we follow our two main characters, Isabel and Alec, and Isabel is basically, she was going to get married, and at the very last second she calls off her wedding. And her fiance, I guess they've broken up at this point, but her fiance, almost future husband, basically says, well, they've planned this, like, I think it's a couple of weeks in Paris. They've got a hotel, they've done everything, and he suggests that she take the trip by herself to kind of clear her head, because she's kind of freaking out about it. And she's like, great, this is a good idea. And so one night she accidentally gets locked out on her balcony and ends up having to connect with the guy who's got the room right next to her, Alex. And so the two of them basically start spending time together, and they run into a fortune teller at one of these like Christmas market kind of places, and it makes her rethink some stuff. And so it has a twist of magic. It has a little bit of that, you know, could this be happening kind of situation, but it has all the fun Christmassy, Hallmarky kind of vibes. I would say Hallmark in the sense of like, it's a much more believable romance, but it was still a lot of fun, and I read this quite a few years ago, but I really enjoyed it, and it has that classic Christmas with a twist of magic that I feel like is perfect if you like this one. Also, I didn't mean to, but they actually look really good together. The next one is a new mug in my collection as of this year. It's more of a travel mug, but I love it so much. And it's this little red one that a coworker of mine got from the Starbucks, if you can't tell by the name there. Travel one, so like it comes with a top. But I love it so much. It's so fun. And if you like this kind of classic style, I think you might like Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory. So this one I actually read last year, and this mug, like I said, is giving me those classic kind of Christmas vibes with all of the flowers and the poinsettias and stuff in it. And this is a book that takes place in London, and it has to do with the royal family a little bit. So we follow our main character, Vivian, who has never really gone on a vacation, and her daughter is like a stylist for like the rich and the famous, and someone in the royal family, I can't remember exactly who it is, but someone in the royal family basically asks her to come style them for Christmas, and she invites her mom along and says, hey, you haven't been out of the country, you really need a vacation, let me take you with me. And so she ends up going to, I believe it's England. They basically go to like the royal family, and it's not like the king or the queen, it's like one of the princesses or the cousins or something like that, and Duke or Duchess, something along those lines. And so she basically is there with her daughter, and her daughter's working the whole time, but she kind of goes out around the town and is figuring stuff out, and she runs into this guy named Malcolm Hudson, It was actually a private the tour guide for the castle, and so like she runs into him and they strike up a friendship and then they spend a lot of time together. This is an older romance. The characters, I want to say, are in their 50s if I am correct on that one, but it gives me again that very classic British holiday vibe, and that's kind of the vibe I get from this mug as well. So they don't necessarily go as well when you like look at them, but the vibe of like this very classic Christmas look is really what this book is all about. The next mug that I'm going to talk about is one that I've had for such a long time, and I honestly, like, it came from my parents' collection, so I honestly don't remember where it came from, but it's this one, and it looks like snow, and it's got this cute little candy cane handle. I forgot words there for a second. I adore this one. It's one of my favorite ones. I think if you like this one, which again, very classic, you would like A McGregor Christmas by Nora Roberts. So this one's actually a bind-up of 2 stories. I specifically am thinking of the first one, which is called Rebellion. It's basically a novel and a novella in one sitting. So you also have In From the Cold, which is a novella that takes place within the same family, just many generations later. And this is a Scottish romance. I know it, like, the cover doesn't really give you Scottish, but the first book is Scottish romance, and then the second one is like Civil War time. But this one's giving me, when I say classic, I mean more like old-timey, before, you know, what you would think of as like Christmas today, with a lot of snow, homemade candy canes, like very much non-commercialized Christmas. And this takes place in a time way before electricity and anything like that. So that's why I think that these two kind of really go together. Also, I just really love holding this one because this feels really cool. The first one in here, Rebellion, it takes place in 1745 in Scotland, and it follows Sierra McGregor, who is, I think, one of the daughters, or is like the oldest daughter in this McGregor family, and she despises Englishmen. It takes place at that time when, like, I think Scotland and England were really fighting, and there was like the Jacobites and all I kind of think of, like, I think the King of Scotland was supposed to be the King of England, and there was like a whole fight there. So it takes place during that time. So she does not trust Englishmen, and so her brother comes home for Christmas. Her brother comes home for Christmas with his English friend Brigham Langston. Now he's clearly on their side, otherwise I don't think they would be friends. But he comes there to kind of help out the family, and she doesn't trust him because English. And it's the two of them kind of coming together. He sees her, he sees a super fiery redhead that's got like a lot of personality, and he falls for her immediately. So it's the two of them and their relationship as things happen. And that's the one that I'm particularly focusing on. But the novella, just in case you get this bind up, In From the Cold, takes place in America in 1776. So a few years later, we follow Ian McGregor, who is forced to take refuge from a winter storm, and he ends up taking refuge with a young widow named Elena Flynn, and it's the two of them. He ends up having to, like, they get snowed in her little house, and so they're trying to, I think he's injured or something, and so, like, that's why he takes refuge, and it's her taking care of him. So if you like the caretaking kind of trope, then that's for you. I think Ian McGregor is, like, the son or the grandson of the couple from the first book. They're connected somehow. I just can't remember exactly what it is. But again, that very old-timey classic vibe. I loved it. If you like a good historical romance, this is a good full-length one, because I feel like a lot of historical romances, when it comes to Christmas, they do a lot of novellas, but this one, while it does have a novella, is a full-length novel as well. So I really liked it. And Nora Roberts, I mean, she's a good one. So that's my answer for this one. Also, this mug. I just am reminding myself how much I love all these mugs. The next one I feel like is very, very self-explanatory, and it's this one, which I like to call the classic Santa mug. I actually got this from my mother-in-law. She gave it to us with another one that I'll talk about later, our first Christmas. So I really like it. It's a good, like, size too, but it gives me all the classic Santa vibes. So if you like this one, I feel like you're gonna like Twas the Night Before Christmas. And this one is by Clement C. Moore. I feel like, again, very self-explanatory here. Classic Santa, classic Santa. This specific copy is the same one that I grew up with. My parents have a copy of this one, and it's just so beautiful with all of these full-page illustrations, and I just love the story. It's just absolutely beautiful, and I always make sure I have this with me because I read it on Christmas Eve before I go to bed. It's just a tradition I've started. I love it so much. I don't really know how to explain this story if you don't know what it's about, but it's basically told from this father's perspective on Christmas Eve as Santa visits his house, and he like wakes up and sees Santa visiting his house, and it's just his thoughts on Santa. It's kind of like a poem. Oh, it's illustrated by Christian Birmingham, just in case you want to know what this specific edition is. It's just so pretty. But again, classic Santa, classic Santa. I feel like this is very self-explanatory. They're almost in the exact same position and everything. I didn't even realize that. But the next one is actually the other one that Chris's mom got us. And this is one that says rejoice on it. And it has holly, and it's just like a fun little funky mug. It's green inside with a little holly leaf right there. And it's so funky and fun. I feel like if you like that, then you would like the worst/best Christmas pageant ever. And this is by Barbara Robinson. I mean, they do kind of match a little bit. I read this one, I think, was it last year or the year before for the first time? I can't remember. It's this really, really short children's book. It is, I think, chaptered. Yeah. And it basically follows the Herdmans, who says right here, are the worst kids in the history of the world. They lie, steal, smoke cigars, swear, and hit little kids. So no one's prepared when this outlaw family invades church on Sunday and decides to take over the annual Christmas pageant. And also it says right here that none of them have ever heard the story before, so their interpretation kind of gets crazy. Like the wise men are a bunch of dirty spies and Harold needs a good beating. So it's real funny, but it gives me that funky style that this mug kind of does, so I thought that was a good mix. Ooh, sorry about that. So yeah, it's just fun. Chris is actually the one that grew up with this one, and so I hadn't heard of it, and he said we should read it, and so I did, and it's real fun. I've laughed out loud multiple times while reading this one, and it's super short. It's a fun little cozy family read. And the last one is probably another one of my favorite Christmas mugs that I don't use very often because of how it's shaped, and it's hard because I put my mugs on like a warmer, and the way that this bottom is, it's really hard for it to actually get warm. But it's this gingerbread mug. This is actually the very first Christmas mug I ever bought. I didn't have any until Chris and I got married, and then I've inherited a couple from my parents. We've been gifted some, and this was the very first one that I bought us, and I love it with the gingerbread and the like little candy canes, and then on the inside you've got holly, but this part right here keeps it from staying warm on my heater, so I don't actually use it very often, but it's so fun. I love it so much. But it's fun, kind of reminds me of like good old family time when you're baking with your family and you're just having fun. So I feel like if you like this mug that you will like In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. This is I think their first and only Christmas book. I might be wrong on that. I haven't been able to find anything else that's specifically a Christmas book from them. So this one came out last year. I read it last year and absolutely adored it. We follow our main character, Maylin Jones, and she and her parents come to this kind of cabin every year with their family friends. She's kind of grown up with them. I think she's in her mid-20s at this point, and something goes terribly wrong, and it turns into one of those loop, like Groundhog Day kind of stories, where she's on the way back from the weekend. Like Christmas is over, they're on the way back to the airport, and they get in a car accident, and it bumps her back on the flight to the weekend, and so she starts the weekend over again, and like it's like that loop of like something happens and then she starts it over and over again, and it's her and the two brothers from this other family, and it's not really a love triangle, but it's her kind of liking these brothers, and it just has that fun, like, wholesome, you're in a cabin with your family and your family's best friends, and you're just trying to figure out, you're just having a good old cozy time. And that's kind of the way that I feel about this mug, is if I feel like you can like really snuggle with it. Also, it's just fun and reminds me of family. So yeah, kind of works. I just feel like the cover itself is just a lot of fun, and I feel like if you like this, you like this. That's it. Those are some of my recommendations based on mugs. I have so many, I could just keep going forever and ever and ever, but I thought we'd make this a relatively shorter video because we would be here forever. But I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of the books. As always, let me know if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned in this video, or if you have a mug that fits a specific book I mentioned, or a book that fits a specific mug I mentioned, or just a pairing of your own, or just give me, some good old holiday book recommendations. I would love to know all the things down below. But if you liked this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so remember to check all of that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!